let's move to our next presentation by Sandeep Das with big round of applause, please.
Thank you, and happy to be amongst large gathering of L&D and HR leaders. So my topic today is talking about what's next generation technology and gamification in L&D. I think we have a lot of people who are masters in that. I would like to start my conversation with you with a book that I recently finished reading. It is called Nexus by Yuval Noah Harari, where he talks about, he gives a very simple equation. He says information equal to power. So I think all of us have been in quest of power, and I found a very simple equation. It said information equal to power, and then the book continues to talk about the evolution of human from right from the Stone Ages till today, and what he's also predicting some future. Now, I think the biggest evolution of humans happened when pigeons got discovered. Now you might see, I'm talking about pigeons in the era of generative AI. So how would information be collected, and your power depended on how could you transfer that information to somebody else. And the biggest breakthrough was somebody identified that pigeons could actually carry a message from one place to other place. And if you look back at history, anybody who could catch hold of a pigeon midway while the pigeon was transferring some news from location A to location B, a war could be won. So that's the power of information. So anybody who has the ability to catch hold of information and utilize that information or data can become very strong and powerful. Now, I think humanity continued to evolve. We had, then the next form of evolution was printing press, because information carried by pigeons, not the most efficient way. Eventually, we had a printing press where information could be copy printed in mass, and then we had computers, and then we had internet. And now where are we heading to? So if we are talking about technology, we should not get blinded only by generative AI. There are multiple technologies which are playing around. So you have Web3, you have Metaverse. We used to talk a lot about Metaverse. We used to talk about blockchain. All of these technologies are still continuing to be prevalent. A lot of research is happening on the sidelines, and what eventually it would lead us to is the future of workplace. Today, whatever I talk about is basis what has happened till now. And there are some predictions which I have to make. One is that traditional LMSs and LXPs will become obsolete. So you might agree, not agree, but that's what I believe. Learning experience agents at board. 3 years back, I introduced a term called LXB. In one of the conferences in a similar stage setup, I had spoken about that. I foresee that there would be a time when learning would not be delivered through a platform, but learning would be delivered through a bot or an agent. And today, I think it's almost become a reality. I'm yet to see any learning LMS or LXP players to formally introduce a chat-based interface. Content will get hyper-personalized. I don't think there would be a need for a content developer or a content creator. Why do I feel so? I will talk about all these in the subsequent slides. And finally, shift of power from trainer to learner. Remember, I started my conversation by talking about information. So the trainer was almost powerful because the knowledge, anybody who held knowledge or information or data was considered to be powerful. Today we are living in a decentralized world where data, knowledge, information is publicly available. Anybody who has the ability to go to the source can accumulate those information. So hence we are seeing a shift in transfer of power from a trainer or a guru or a organization which used to be a custodian of that knowledge to people around, right? So now what we talk about is love for games. If we talk about games, I think we have seen Mahabharata and we have seen games, right? Games have been prevalent right from the mythological times, from very prehistoric time, and that continues. Today, if you are traveling in a public transport, or if you are in an office, you would see a lot of people crushing candies. I'm still trying to figure out how do people benefit by crushing candies. So there is a innate love for games, and gamification has been a very, I would say from my experience, a great experience for me in terms of holding learners' attention. Today we talk about 1 minute learning, right? A lot of our customers, lot of our stakeholders say that, okay, 15 minutes module, it's too long. Can you deliver that learning in 1 minute? I ask the question, if people don't have the attention focus to learn for 1 minute, how can they play Candy Crush for hours? So there is something that we are missing out. Probably we should use Candy Crush and imbibe our learning into that, so that people continue to learn and play Candy Crush for hours. So now there are two strategies in gamification. I'm not talk much about it. One is a process gamification, and one is a content gamification. Process gamification, we all use leaderboards, we use gamified shells to create content, but that's not the real game. What is content gamification? Content gamification is all about the game engine. I see Solomon there and he's smiling. So there are real games which can be played, but unfortunately we don't see a lot of those games popular in current times, primarily because our LMSs or LXPs do not have the ability to host such games. Today, even those games which can be created on a Unity or some other platform, they have to be played on the web. Our current learning management systems are not equipped to handle games, content gamification. So these are some of the points. This is what we already use, so not spending much time. This is process gamification, badges, leaderboards, challenges. Quickly coming to some of the tools. So what I would want all of you to go away with is some action points, right? So if you heard me, what are you going to do after this conversation? So these are some of the platforms which are freely available. So everybody, without spending a penny, you can actually start using these platforms right away. And these will help you in terms of process gamification. These are all process gamification tools, right? So while you are delivering a learning program, a classroom program, or a virtual program, or you want to design a program, these are some platforms that you can use. Anyways, this PPT will be shared with you. Now, if you want to have content gamification, now what you can do is there are some very interesting platform, Unity, Construct and Godot. So these are all game engines. These are all freely available. You can try your hands. Some of these would need a bit of software knowledge, but if you talk about Construct, it doesn't need any coding experience. Anybody, you just need to apply your brains and create a logic, and you can start creating games. Now I can talk about one of the experience. In one of my previous organization, I was piloting a Portugal-based gaming company, excellent games, and it was a real game engine with real game, right? Like the Temple Run and all. So they have amazing games. So we piloted it for a group of people who belong to an admin function, and it was a pilot for the entire group. And what I realized is that we had to stop a learner. One learner had continuously played the game for 14 hours. Just imagine. Today we are talking about 15 minutes of content being too long. That gentleman had played for 14 hours. We had created a structure where that after every level of game there was a debrief. So the entire purpose was getting lost because the person was not stopping. So we checked during one of the group coaching session, we checked with him, why did you not stop? And he said that it was so challenging. There were so many challenges thrown to me, and the lady kept on saying that this is disgusting, and I felt so bad that I had to prove myself. So now that what we understand is that when you play a game, the concept of a challenge, the concept of failing, you don't want to fail. Nobody in the room wants to fail. Does anybody in the room can raise a hand and say, okay, I have come here to fail? No, right? So when you fail, then you try harder. You try harder. So that's the principle on which a game engine works, right? Talking about the next gen e-learning, I spoke about LMSs will go for a toss. Why did LMS originate at all? Someone needed to create a content and that needed to be placed somewhere, right? A house where the content can be placed, and that's how learning management system, in fact, it was not learning management system, I think it was more about learning data, learning recording system, LRS. So the origin was in LRS, learning recording system. And then they said, okay, now content can be created digitally, so where can we place the content? Now today, the content creation is no longer required because content is there with each one of you. If I have a system where I could just scan your eyes and figure out what content you have, and on the go I can pick those up. How does this sound? Fantastic, right? Now, today as a L&D department, HR department or learning professional, what we really do is to go to various department, various systems, find out what is there in the system, policies, process, behavior, skills, and then we accumulate those, aggregate those at our end, and then we go to Articulate or Beyond or some other platform to create a content. Now, generative AI has made all of these things possible, right? Today, you just use a WhatsApp as an output. Today, somebody has to go to a platform, use a SSO, log in, find out a course, and then figure out where exactly the need is. You don't, in current time, I think that's obsolete. You just go to WhatsApp, speak out, send a voice note, or just type in whatever language you feel free. The WhatsApp API goes to the systems. So there is one finance system, there is a business system, there is an operation system, there are multiple systems, right? The API crawler goes, it checks with all the system, creates the content, creates in the form of a podcast or a video or a whatever mode of a PDF, a reading material, and it throws back to you in all under 1 minute. So that's the power of generative AI. So we don't need to create a learning journey for anybody. You don't need to create a content. Let everybody create their own learning journey on their own. Right? So learning becomes more powerful as the focus shifts from trainer to learner. The second one that I can talk about is content creation. We were looking for a content library, then I came across some platform. So I met this, there are a lot of companies, I'll just name one company, Synthesia.ai. It's very simple, you just feed in PDF, figure out how you need the output to be. Do you want a podcast, you want a explainer video, or you want a character based video, or you want 2 characters having a conversation, or you want just a text. After you do that, you click, upload the PDF, then it asks you to select how many languages. You have around 9 Indian languages which are being supported by the platform. And within 5 minutes, a content is ready. And in a day, just imagine if your organization had 20, 30 HR policies, under 1 day you can convert everything to a very thought-provoking and engaging content. So content can be created on the go at any point of time by anybody, provided you have the right kind of tools available with you. Data analytics. Data analytics, I think my previous speakers, they spoke about how data becomes very powerful now. Lot of the data right now is accessible to us. Data used to rest in Excel sheets and it was very difficult for a human to go and figure out what to do with the data. Today, you have lot of platform, for example, a Copilot. If you have a Copilot license or any platform, so I'm not talking about the platform, whether it is a DeepSeek, whether it is a Qwen 2.5 or technology is dropping day by day and it's very difficult to keep track of which is the best technology. My point is that I want to choose a technology where I feel my data is safe, right? So you decide where you want to, which platform you want to use. But the point is, how do we kind of make sense of the data? Today, so much data rests around multiple systems. Do we need an MIS or an Excel based analysis? No, you don't need. You just need Power BI and API connectors to all of your live systems and you can just visualize data the way you want. So this is going to kind of democratize information. You don't need to have a conversation or sit with your stakeholder and take them through some clunky Excel sheets and data. They can as well kind of write a command and find out the regression analysis and all kind of data analysis that they want to do. All you need to do is to provide the right tools and platforms. And finally, it's the multimodal and vernacular. So today, we should not decide as an L&D department that my learner has a preference for VAK. I will, basis my assumption, make a sense that, okay, Solomon is V, so I need to push V. Let Solomon decide what he or she is. Let the control of the learning mode rest with the learner. And today, generative AI has the capability to create a content on the go. So a content need not be pre-prepared. The content can be prepared just in time. Right? Because the information which is required to create the content already rests in multiple systems. You need your generative AI to just fetch the content and then create it right in time when the learner needs it. And vernacular, of course, generative AI has made it so possible. We recently got a entire 10 hours of induction converted into 11 Indian languages. And we invested in a platform called Vitra.ai. And we are also their customers. It's a very simple tool. You upload any content, you just select the Indian languages, and the output is within a couple of minutes. You get content in multiple Indian languages. Now, some tools that I have already spoken about, Synthesia. Synthesia I have spoken about, try it out, 8.5 lakhs annual license and 1 seat and unlimited content. So sorry, there are a lot of players who deal in content, but I can say I can become a content service provider. If I am investing 8.5 lakh rupees annum, I can create unlimited content. You just take any PDF out from the internet and upload it, and then content is made. Then there is one more, probably not many of you would have heard, ByteDance, which is famous for its TikTok, has published a paper called Open Human 1. So Open Human 1 goes a step ahead. It says that any character in the world, probably a statue or a Mohenjo-daro figurine, you just need to upload a picture and a voice sample and write the context around which you want to build a content. And you can see Mahatma Gandhi, the original Mahatma Gandhi, not an actor, come live and talk about leadership. So today, if you want to create a module on leadership, you don't need to reinvent somebody. You can have Mahatma Gandhi actually talk about leadership live. So that's the power of technology. Open Human 1 is publicly not available. It would soon be available, but I think it has the capability to disrupt the entire content space. Then we have DeckRobo, we have Copilot. Today I do a lot of leadership conversation with Copilot. How many of you use Copilot? So Copilot O3 agent has the ability to do a voice chat. So I've been using Copilot for last 2 years. So Copilot understands me. I can, if I had time, I could do a demo. You just press the mic button and you start having a conversation, and it feels like you're having a conversation with a normal human being. Write your dilemmas. So your anything that you want to learn, it's just handy. And one step ahead is operator, ChatGPT operator. ChatGPT operator is publicly being not available. It's with a select group of people, and it kind of, you just it's a step ahead. You just speak and then your work gets done. That's an agentic model. Then we have Notebook LLM, quizzes. These are some tools which you can use for your use. And this is as much of yesterday. I'm not sure what technology will drop today. So maybe in the next forum we can talk about that. Thank you so much. Open to your questions, if you have any.
Hi. Good morning.
Yep.
This is Shyam Prajapati. My question is, like, we talked a lot about LMS. Talked a lot about gamification. Where do we see the threat of data misuse, and how do we control that?
So the question is, how do you control the data?
Data misuse.
See, all the platforms, you will have a layer of security if you are using it for an organization. For example, I use Copilot. The Copilot license is governed by my organization, so it doesn't go beyond the organization. That's what I said. The platform that you choose depends on the element of trust you have on the creators. Today, do you have any issue with Google using your data? No. We primarily have an assumption that Google is a more ethical company. So decide on the organization, and I think Copilot, since it's owned by Microsoft, there is an element of trust that we have, because all our organizational conversation anyways happen through Microsoft. So that's where the controls will come into place. Don't use a platform that's looks to be very cheap, but you never know what happens with your data. So that's, I think one thing I missed about is that how many of you watched this series called Black Mirror? Black Mirror season 6 episode 1, John is awful. How many of you watched it? So that's a brilliant example of content on the go. So the content gets created as and when you need it. Quantum computing, Web3, generative AI, they all make so much of realistic content that you don't need to pre-create any content. It will be created on the go. Any more questions? I hope I've been able to answer.
Hi. Yeah, very, very interesting session. Thank you so much for that. I have a question on the gamification. So you just mentioned an example where a learner couldn't stop learning. It was so interesting. Now, he spent about 14 hours. So just your opinion on where do you draw a line? I mean, if the learning is so interesting, but when they go back to their job, which is like, maybe not that interesting, it's boring. How do you, especially the Gen Zs, do you see that as a problem, or you want to draw a line somewhere? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there are organizations. Recently, there was a news that somebody was fired from the job because she or he was spending too much time learning in the office. I don't know how many of you would have. The person was completing courses during office hours. And it was a pretty large consulting company in the world. Now, that's an interesting thing. How do we draw lines? I think this is more to do with self, right? Because a lot of people do not know how to draw lines in multiple places. There has to be a governance mechanism. All you can say is that, okay, can you do it at so and so hours so that it doesn't disrupt to your work? But then purely it depends on the person's choice. However, today you have a lot of tracking mechanism where this governance mechanism can be enforced. We had rules which could never be tracked. Today, devices are being tracked all the time, right? You have your work emails. If you are feeling that nothing is getting tracked, everything is getting tracked. And that's what my learning was when I completed Nexus. I could feel that, okay, this is where we are heading to. And if you read that book, and at the end of it, you will feel like throwing away your mobile. Because ultimately we are giving all our power to one single device and the person who controls the data behind the device. So basically we are selling ourselves to that person who owns that data. And God forbid if that person decides to go wrong someday, God save us. So yeah, so then there has to be, drawing the lines have to be done through a strong governance mechanism. However, the whole point is that can we relook at the way we design our training programs? Can we introduce some elements of interest, right? Today we are talking about Gen Z. So what interests in Gen Z? Is it a 1-minute course, or is it a course that can grab the attention of the Gen Z for a longer duration? The ultimate objective is that how do we train people? Our objective is not to make them complete a course for 14 hours. If my learning objective has been met in 1 minute, it's well and fine. But if it requires 2 hours, we have to figure out a way where we create engaging content which hooks the learner for 2 hours. That's it. I think you had a question.
Hi Sandeep, first of all, thank you for the presentation. But as you mentioned that technology today enables us to create our personalized learning journey. But how can we motivate, employees or individuals to go through with it?
So interestingly, if you look at data, if you go around the organization and you ask people how many of them consume content, you will be surprised that many people continue to learn, but they learn outside your system. And we don't have a mechanism to figure out where they are learning from. And also it gives a strong feedback that probably our learning repository doesn't meet their need. So they will go to a YouTube. Today somebody has to learn cooking, they go to YouTube. So YouTube has become a source of learning, but unfortunately since it is an open source and it is also blocked by a lot of organizations, we can't use YouTube, but that's one of the finest way of learning. There are lots and lots of content. One thing also you would realize that many of your people whom you believe are dumb and they need learning are influencers on social media. How many employees are influencers who talk about multiple things? Today we don't have an insight about anything. We are blinded by the external world. We don't have a sight of what's happening in the life of my employee, right? So that's one of the reasons why we believe that how do you attract. So the whole point is there is a need, and whenever people have a need, they go to the place where they trust their need would be fulfilled. Currently, do they trust the internal learning management system? No, because we do not have everything that can solve their problem. But they have a problem, they are learning, but they are not coming to us, they are going to somebody else.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for your time, sir.